Good day, Knicks Nation. Hope everybody's well today in Knicks Nation. Today, what I wanted to discuss today is the rumor, and that's what it is at this point. It's a rumor that the Phoenix Suns are looking to sell Kelly Oubre, and with him the 10th pick in the upcoming NBA draft, so that they can create more cap space and that they can obtain another veteran, I would assume a high quality veteran for their team. Now, in this past year, basically, I mean, the reason the Phoenix Suns are drafting 10th is because they were one of the worst teams record wise in the NBA. So they're, they had a young team, but if you follow basketball, and professional basketball in particular, you will notice that in the bubble, they were undefeated. And they were actually pushing for a playoff spot. They are playing very well. And the part of the reason is what we've been saying all along. They started as a rebuilding team. They have made, obviously, a lot of mistakes. That sounds familiar to us Knicks fans. But then they started drafting very well. And they ended up with a star in Devin Booker. And they also, of course, they got DeAndre Ayton with the first pick of the draft 2 years ago. And then they got Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges. And they ended up with that core group, especially in the bubble. If you watch them, Cameron Johnson really came on strong in the bubble. He's a rookie, but the kid can shoot the ball, fundamentally sound, fits very well with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, of course, coming out of Villanova, and we know him to be a tremendous defender. That's what he come into the league as. He's actually very fundamentally sound also, and pretty much we're in an era right now where a lot of the guys that come out of Villanova can play. And in every era, there's situations like that. Like there was a time when anybody that came out of UCLA was going to be a player. That was a long time ago, like 60s and 70s. And then in the 80s, it became anybody that came out of Dean Smith's system, at North Carolina, you knew already could play. All right. And so that was the era then. And so it's continued. In recent years, Kentucky has gotten a lot of players in the NBA, tremendous amount of players. In fact, Devin Booker also comes out of Kentucky. But it's more with Kentucky, it's more almost like Calipari has a gift for getting players of high ability to come play for him. I'm not sure it's as much as, how fundamentally sound they are or how developed they are, but he definitely gets all-star physical ability players, athletic ability to come play for him at Kentucky. And he's been very successful with that. But in Villanova, in terms of Villanova, these kids come out fundamentally sound, high IQ, and, and so that's what you get. And so here with Mikal Bridges, it's no different. You have, in this particular draft, we also have Sadiq Bey coming out of Virginia, Villanova, and so he's a good player. And then of course Dante over there, I think his name is Vincenzo or something like that in Milwaukee. He was a sleeper in his draft, and now he's a key piece in Milwaukee's team. So at this point, it looks like the way that this set up for Phoenix is at this point with if the cap is 109 million. Now this thing fluctuates. Sometimes the cap shows to be 109 million, and sometimes the cap shows to be 115 million, and that's because the NBA had already decided on 109 million. It was scheduled, I think it was this past January, they were going to increase it to 116 million. And then with the COVID and with the shortened season and with the drop in revenue, now they're talking about possibly increasing it to 115, but that's not official as of yet. So at this point, 109 is the conservative number because that's where we're at this point. So Phoenix starting five was Ricky Rubio, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and DeAndre Ayton. Now, prior to that, they were starting Kelly Oubre, and then he started coming, and then Kelly Oubre hurt his knee, and then that's when Cameron Johnson got the opportunity, and he made the most of the opportunity because, like I said, this kid was playing out of his mind in the bubble. He played very well in the bubble. He came out of North Carolina, and he was 11th pick this past year, and in the bubble, he was averaging double figures, but he was hitting big shots, big 3-point shots. I'm looking at his last 6 games, which the bubble was only 8 games. He scored 15, 6, 18, 14, 14, and he shot 25% from 3, 50%, 100% from 3, then 22% from 3. So he's up and down as you expect a rookie to be, and he shot 100% from the foul line. So, yeah, he was coming on, and I can definitely see them using him, as a starter going forward. So now, the way they're looking at it in Phoenix, apparently, and I've been getting this because I've been looking at a lot of the local Phoenix news. I went and looked up the local Phoenix news, and the way they're looking at it is they've drafted, right, and they've developed. So they developed Booker, they developed Mikal Bridges, they're developing Ayton is being developed at a much faster rate. That's just completing his 2nd year. And now they got a nice rookie in Cameron Johnson. They had another nice young player in Dario Saric. He's coming off the bench. We'll talk about him in a second. But then, so at first, everyone, including myself, was thinking the only missing piece for them is a point guard, right? But then they went and got Ricky Rubio. Well, now Ricky Rubio is not an all-star, but he definitely fit in what they were doing. And that's why they gelled so well in the bubble. So now, at this point, and this is what I'm saying to the Knicks fans, over the last 4 or 5 years, Phoenix has been trying to develop and gain and develop players and develop a winning core from the draft. Okay, so they drafted Booker, they drafted Bridges, they drafted Johnson, okay, they drafted Ayton. Of their 5 starters, 4 of them, they got through the draft, all right? Then, once they got these players on an upward trajectory in terms of their development, they went and got a veteran to go with them, Ricky Rubio, right? And they got other kids on their team. They got Cameron Payne, who came out maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They got Frank Kaminsky, who came out maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Pretty young team. So they're looking for a veteran that can help move them forward. Okay? To help move them forward. Somebody that knows how to play the game. Not necessarily an older guy, but somebody that probably can pay, that would command a decent salary. So their salary cap situation at this point is they have $18.9 million as far as the salary cap, but it says none if Dario Saric's, because of Dario Saric's cap hold. Now, Dario Saric has a $10 million cap hold, and they also have a qualifying offer off to him of $5 million, which I'm thinking that's probably what he's going to get, the $5 million. He's going to be coming off the bench. He'll probably get $5 to $7 million. That would mean that they would have a $109 million cap. If they paid him $7 million, they would probably be left with about $12 million of cap. That's why they're looking to sell Kelly Oubre. Now, Kelly Oubre is a good player. I don't know. I mean, they're looking to sell him into a team that has cap space, right? They obviously have to have at least the $14 million in cap space to be able to absorb Kelly Oubre's salary. He's on an expiring contract in the last year that's going to pay him $14.3 million. And so, this is a tremendous opportunity, I feel, for the New York Knicks, because we actually have the cap space. See, we're in this conversation because we have the cap space. All right, so they're going to sell him in the 10th pick. If they do that, they'll end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of $26 to $27 million in cap space. It has already been reported that they are looking for a shooter. And that makes perfect sense. They're looking for a shooter. Okay, and it's been reported that they're in the market for Davis Bertans. I don't know how they say it in the foreign countries. I look at it and see Davis, but I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Davis Bertans. So they're looking at him. I'm sure they're looking at Danilo Gallinari. Any shooter that I've already named in a previous video that's on the market, I'm sure they're looking at these shooters, because if you add a shooter to the team they have, and you put, and I'm not sure what, if it would be a guy coming off their bench or if it would be a guy that be starting. I'm assuming they're going to pay him $20-something million. They're probably going to start him. And then maybe Cameron Johnson comes back from, goes back to the bench and comes off the bench for them. But they're going to probably want a shooter. They're probably going to want to stretch for a shooter. So that's what they're probably going to spend this money on. So they're going to have $20-something million in cap space. They're an up and coming team. And, somebody's going to take that bag from them. So that's why they would do this. Now, for the Knicks, being in a situation where you have cap space, this is a gift. In fact, it's almost too good to be true. Really, because first off, Kelly Oubre is a very good player. Coming out of Kansas, he's developed very nicely. I don't think Washington should have traded him. They probably didn't. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but anyway, he's a solid wing. Plays his defense. I remember, I think it was the second year they played Boston in the playoffs, and they were pushing Boston, and I think it went 7 games, and he played very well. He hit big shots. He played really good defense, and so it shows he has the ability to do that consistently. It seems like this past season he was really coming into his own, because he averaged career highs in minutes played. 3-point percentage was a career high, 35%. His overall field goal percentage of 52% was a career high. He was really coming up. He's been shooting in the high 70s. This year was 78% from the free throw line. He averaged almost 19 points a game. He was I think he's an upward trajectory, and he's still only 24 or 25 years old. So we're not even in his prime yet. He had a meniscus tear earlier this year. The reports I saw is that he's fully recovered from the meniscus tear. Fully recovered. His knee is healthy. He's ready to go. Okay. And he still has, the season's not going to start until mid-December, early January. So he'll be ready. And to get him and the 10th pick, let's go over this again, because I think some of my listeners, especially those that don't listen to the whole videos, are missing some things. This is a draft where, every draft produces a star, at least one. Some draft produce multiple stars. And usually, the stars are in the second half of the draft. Okay? And they're players that most people, most general managers, scouts did not think was going to become a star. All right. That being the case, in this draft, where you don't have a consensus superstar, all right, there's no player in this draft that everybody says can't miss. Nobody in this draft is that way. Okay. So you can get this guy, whoever's going to be the top players in this draft, can be from the first selection to the last selection to somebody that's not even drafted, that gets signed as a free agent. Okay. For example, the New York Knicks got Mitchell Robinson in the second round. And if you were to redraft that draft, he would be lottery. Okay. He would be lottery. If you think what you want about him, if you were to let me get something off my chest real quick. All you people out here talking about, we should trade Knox. He stinks. Frank stinks. Mitchell Robinson ain't that good. Okay. Then why does Golden State want Frank? Why are teams inquiring about Mitchell Robinson? And if Kevin Knox is so bad, what makes you think another team would want him? And I know the answer already. You know why? You say, well, maybe they can develop him. Well, maybe we can develop him. Leave Kevin Knox alone. 21 years old, just finished his second year. Leave him alone and let the kid develop. It's amazing. If we would have got a player like a Kawhi Leonard, we'd have traded him already. Y'all be yelling to trade him. Or you think Greek Freak is great, right? In his second year, I don't think he averaged double figures yet. You guys would have been, oh, this kid is skinny. He can't shoot from three. We need a 3-point shooter. I mean, that's what would have happened with some of you. Oh, trade all our picks and let's get a 35-year-old point guard. I mean, anyway, let's leave our kids alone. Knox is going to be fine. Mitchell Robinson is special. You ever see, you know how if a guy is standing under the basket, protecting the rim, and that's the number one, rim protection is what the kid brings. And then if you get a 3-point shooter in the NBA, in the corner, that's the easiest one to hit, and that's the one they hit the most. This kid gets from the under the basket to the corner to block a shot faster than almost anybody I've ever seen in the history of basketball. And those of you that don't notice that, I don't got nothing to say to you, because if you don't notice that and know how valuable that is, we don't have anything to talk about. He can get to the 3-point line from underneath the basket to block a jump shot faster than anybody I've seen. Faster than Moses Malone. Faster than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Faster than Shaquille O'Neal. That's covering ground. That is worth its weight in gold if you want to be a great defensive team. To be able to cover that much ground back quickly. You don't trade that when it's 22 years old. Okay. I got that off my chest. Back to this deal here. So now, in this type of draft where you don't have a consensus top player, it's almost like throwing darts at a board. So the more darts you have, the higher your opportunity to pick the player that nobody knew was going to be great, and you got him. And it looks to me that in spite of some of you crazy ones in Knicks Nation, in spite of that, the Knicks went ahead, our man Dolan went ahead and hired a crew that seems to be put together for the purpose of development. He did that. Okay? He hits Leon Rose up. Leon Rose goes and hires Thibodeau. Say what you want about Thibodeau, but the players he got all went to new levels. Rose became MVP. We know that. But aside from that, Dang became an all-star. Joakim Noah can't even shoot the ball and became Defensive Player of the Year. Taj Gibson became a solid NBA player. Long career. So that even we talking about keeping him at $9 million and he's like 35 years old. He developed players. He pushes them. See, sometimes it's a desire. It's a willingness to be pushed and to be pushed to your limit that causes a professional athlete to really become great. That's what you need. Look at LeBron. The boy could probably just roll out of bed and play ball, but that's not him. You see, he keeps his body in top shape. He's like indestructible. And he pushes himself to get greater all the time. Same with Giannis. That's what you want. And if you get a guy like Tibbs, that's what he's going to do. He's going to push you. He's going to put his foot in your behind. That's what these kids need. Johnny Bryant, Walt Perrin, and our favorite guy, my man Woody. I liked Woody when he was in Atlanta coaching. And I was glad when he came to the Knicks. And I was glad if we had to lose D'Antoni, I was glad Woodson was there and he did a bang up job. They treated him like trash. That was the wrong move Phil Jackson did. And Phil Jackson was a smart guy, but that was the wrong move getting rid of Woodson. But now he's back. So you have a crew that's going to develop your players. Okay? That's what they got. So now you bring in an Oubre. And now we would have the 8th pick, the 10th pick, the 27th pick, and the 38th pick. And let me tell you something. Phoenix is selling. That means they don't want nothing back because they're trying to create the cap space. So guess what? We can still get a pick for Julius Randle. Right? We could still get a pick for Julius Randle. And I think we will. So now you're talking about the 8th pick, the 10th pick, the 27th pick, the 38th pick. And you might get like, if it's, let's say if it was Minnesota who was interested in Julius Randle. I know some of you Knicks fans can't believe that some other teams are interested in some of your players. But yes, they were interested in Julius Randle. That's the 17th pick. Okay? Even Charlotte, even the deal proposed, I'd take their 32nd. The 32nd pick of the second round. I'll take that. Because the more dots you have to throw at that board, the more opportunity for you to get a star. Okay? And if you get 8, 10, 27, 32, 38, you're going to hit something. You could get a monkey to pick. Just close your eyes and pick top 60 players and you get 5 choices. You're going to get somebody. You're going to get somebody that's going to pop. You're going to get more than one. Okay? And that's what you want. That's what you want. So this thing with Phoenix, like I said yesterday, man, they probably already talking to these teams. I mean, these conversations between agents and general managers probably already going on. And if Phoenix really wants to create that kind of cap space to throw money at the Bertans or the Danilo Gallinari, which I don't, that's a good move for them. And then, bolster their bench with this kid, Cameron Johnson, that's already good. They don't need no more young rookies. They don't need no more of that. Javon Carter played good for them this summer. They don't need no more rookies. Okay? They need somebody to step in and know what they're doing so they can go to the next level. The next level for Phoenix is getting to that 7th, 8th, 6th spot in the West. That's the next step for them. That's the next step in their progression. And they're on point to do that. So this makes sense. So the question is, who's going to take the $14 million and Kelly Oubre in the 10th pick? See, everybody talking about a bidding war for CP3. I don't know, but I already told y'all my feelings on CP3. We shouldn't be overbidding for him. We're not giving y'all no draft picks. Whoever want to do that, that's fine. But I can see a bidding war over this. I would, because the Knicks, certainly, this would be a tremendous situation for the New York Knicks. A tremendous situation right here. So now, we get Vassell. But who knows who else we could get? Some of y'all like Kyra Lewis. They could grab Kyra Lewis. They'd be in a position to get the kid out of Maryland that a lot of y'all like, Jalen Smith. They can get shooters. They can get Bain. They can get Neesmith. They have opportunity to really pluck from what they want from this grocery list right here, because to get those picks. So right now, as it stands, we know we got 3 picks. We're going to get another pick with Julius Randle. I'm not sure where it is. Like I said, it could be a 2nd round pick. It could be a 1st round pick. We're going to get a pick for Julius Randle. Or Utah, that's their number 23rd pick. We could get their 23rd pick from this year. Cause that's what they got this year, 23rd. We could get that, for Julius Randle. If we take expensive behind Mike Conley, but we can get that. So we're going to get that pick. That's going to be 4 picks in this draft. And if we get this one with, Oubre, so we slot Oubre right in there. He becomes a wing. You got RJ on the wing, and you got Frank. I like that, man. And then you got our boy Mitchell Robinson, who's ready to take the leap in only his 3rd year. And then we're still looking for a 4. Now the 4, if we did this deal, and our cap space is such right now. If we did this deal, our cap space is $45 million, right? So, we'd be eating about $14 million of our cap space. So now we still have $32 million to work with. Still have $32 million. And if they went ahead and did this deal with, Utah, it'll eat into our cap space some more. And we probably end up with like $16 million in cap space after that, if we got Mike Conley in here and took their 23rd pick for Julius Randle. Unless we included another player, like if we included Dennis Smith Jr., which I don't think we would with Utah. And the reason is because the whole point that Utah is trying to do is get that money off his books. So it wouldn't want to take back too much. So we'd probably be able to send Julius Randle there. And then we end up, having about $16 million in cap space. And now, you're looking for a stretch 4. I'm not sure what you can get. You could get a Jeremy Grant with that. I like Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's a tremendous defensive player. He's a solid shooter. He's definitely a finisher, high IQ kid, good kid, man. And so you can get a Jeremy Grant with that money. I'm not sure you can get a Davis Bertans with that because I think he's going to be commanding a little bit more because of his shooting ability on the open market. You might be able to get Mook with that. You can bring back Mook with that. We had him for $15 million last year. So, we'd be in the market still for a stretch four. But of course, if they drafted with one of them million picks we would be having, if they drafted Obi Toppin, he would be the stretch four. So we wouldn't be even spending that money on that. So that's the opportunity we have. So we could have our starting five could look like Frank, RJ, Kelly, Mitchell Robinson, and let's say Jeremy Grant. Or our starting five could look like Conley, RJ, Oubre, Mitchell Robinson, and Obi Toppin. It could be anything like that. But you know what? Either case, it's going to be an improvement to our roster from the previous season. In either case. And so especially you put any of this team, the guys I just named, plus the bench guys, I love my man Dot. We still got our boy Kevin to develop. We still, I don't know. I think they might bring back Taj Gibson. They may not if this is a situation because they're going to need the cap space. But you have some decent players on the bench that can be developed that are coming into their own. I think Kevin's going to be showing I think Kevin Knox is going to show some vast improvement this year just because he's genetically growing into his man's body. I mean, it's not something you can rush. You can't eat your way, to grow into your man's body unless you're trying to get fat. Right? So it's got to be a natural thing. So he's growing and he's working very hard. I think Kevin's going to be fine. Y'all need to leave Kevin Knox alone and quit trying to trade him so that he can become a star for another team. Stop it. Anyway, we're going to have a decent team. And then when you got these guys like a Thibodeau who is going to work you to death. Like I said, I'm looking for 35 to 42 wins. The equivalent of that, because we're not going to have 82 games, obviously, so it's going to be less. Whatever the 60 game equivalent, and I think the math is like 25 wins is equivalent to 35, and I want to say like 30 wins would be equivalent to 42 in that range, something like that. So I'm looking at between 25 and 30 wins on a 60 game schedule, which is the equivalent of 35 to 42 wins in a regular season. If we can achieve that this year, I'll be very happy. Because that is improvement. That is a step forward. Okay. And then I'd be really, no injuries, without injuries. I'd be really looking for that next year to come, cause we haven't even had the same starting five in the last 5 years, 2 years in a row. You think about that. We haven't had any continuity on our team. Like players don't even know who they're going to play with. So we can keep our crew together and get this. And then next year's draft, we got 2 number ones in a draft class that's supposed to be stacked. I'm excited. I'm excited about our Knicks. I just don't want to do anything stupid. What do y'all think? Shalom.